It takes a lot to blow my mind. You see, my buddy Scott Stewart figured out Marvel's casting secret, and most importantly, why they cast Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. Welcome to the panel where we look at the world through the frame of the comic book. My name is Jason Badow. I am going to hyper-condense what took Scott and I ages to figure out so you can see why he's correct.
It's complicated. Hey, it's complicated.
Scott and I were on a Twitch stream and chat asked us what we thought of the Thunderbolts trailer. I made two observations. First, look at the characters on this poster. I am elbow deep in Marvel and I'm squinting like, who is that again? Yelena and Bucky might be B-list and the rest are C, even D-list characters. Might even be G for Ghost.
Who are you?
Take a look at the actors. They're all great actors, but I don't think anyone on the poster is a movie star.
Movie stars are people that you don't have to list 2 or 3 things they've been in before the stranger you're talking to at the pub knows who you're talking about.
Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, S-tier movie stars. Even though I can't remember the last thing that she did, Angelina Jolie is still a goddamn movie star in my mind. Oh wait, she did the Eternals. We will come back to the Eternals. This is actually really important to this discussion. Speaking of movie stars, is there anybody in the house that doesn't agree that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are freaking movie stars? I would tier list Jackman at A above Reynolds on the B, but these guys can helm a film. Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Sebastian Stan, all fantastic actors. I am super glad whenever I see them in a movie, but I think we can agree that they are below Ryan Reynolds on the movie star ranking.
And I'm sorry that I said a bunch of harsh but very true things.
Then, Scott and I realized that at the time of release, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had exactly one movie star helming all of its movies. Who was it?
You don't understand. Something really bad is about to happen here.
Edward Norton in The Incredible Hulk. Bona fide movie star. Infamously replaced. Make a mental note. This is the second of Marvel's big lessons, but the rest, let me show you. Iron Man. In 2007, Robert Downey Jr. was barely 5 years from his arrest and rehab. Insurance companies refused to insure Robert Downey Jr. because he was such a risk at the time. Beloved, but not a movie star.
Inconceivable!
For Iron Man 2, Sam Jackson had done some great stuff, but the supporting roles of Mace Windu and the cult classic Royale with Cheese were 10 years earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
The biggest thing Scarlett Johansson was in was Michael Bay's The Island, 5 years earlier.
What? Why?
Thor. Jesus Christ, my dogs were more well known than Hemsworth was before Thor.
It's not possible.
Captain America. The failed Fantastic Four movie was hardly a feather in Chris Evans' cap. Do you see what I did there? Hat, cap, cap, cap.
Champagne, sketch comedy.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ant-Man. This is the first time we get a movie star. Paul Rudd, am I right? But back then, Rudd lived in supporting roles in Anchorman.
60% of the time, it works every time.
This is the end and what? I love you, man? My beautiful friends, I posit to you that Paul Rudd wasn't a movie star before Ant-Man.
I'm so confused.
Doctor Strange. Benedict Cumberbatch was Sherlock TV famous, not movie famous. Guardians of the Galaxy. Zoe Saldana was probably the biggest star with Star Trek under her name. She's the only one here who's headlined a film except for Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper, who were as on-screen in Guardians as Saldana was in Avatar.
That's disgusting.
The Parks and Rec guy was infamously not a movie star, and even way less TV famous than Benedict Cumberbatch.
Call me Spider-Man!
I still don't know who Tom Holland is. I'm joking. I love Tom Holland. But before Spider-Man, he made Chris Pratt look famous.
Oh my.
Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman was probably the biggest actor on the list with 42 and Get On Up under his belt, and neither of those were massive box office successes. For Captain Marvel, Brie Larson came out of the critically acclaimed room, but otherwise a bunch of Paul Rudd-level supporting roles.
I have nothing to prove to you.
And the later phases are no different. Nothing in Simu Liu's resume beforehand predicted this absolutely perfect casting of Shang-Chi. And in Scott's and my humble opinions, Jeremy Renner has never been a movie star. He was really good in The Town and The Hurt Locker, but they gave him the Bourne and Mission Impossible franchises and he crapped both those beds. Comic book fans know that he took Hawkeye to shocking lows by sucking the charisma out of one of the most lovable comic book characters ever. If you're not sure, please go read Matt Fraction and David Aja's Hawkeye. But let's stop dumpstering on Renner and get back to the question. Why wouldn't Marvel ever cast movie stars as their characters? Well, there's two huge reasons to not hiring movie stars for your heroes. First is Marvel's priority. There is an unspoken dark secret among Marvel and DC Comics that has permeated from the page onto the big screen and into Marvel Studios. Marvel and DC don't ever want their creators or actors to be bigger than their characters. Why? Because they own the characters and not the creators. Creators and actors leave, but characters don't. Unless you're stupid enough to sell them off because you went bankrupt.
This is a tremendous idea.
What makes a great character? Great stories, iconic stories. And the more iconic stories, the greater the character. Think about it. Who's at the top of the list? In my mind, it's Batman. Throw a stone and you will hit an iconic Batman story. The Dark Knight Returns, Year One, The Killing Joke, Arkham Asylum. My God, there's seriously too many to list. Next, maybe Spider-Man. Below him, Wolverine. Then the X-Men. Daredevil is on the list as he's a bunch of iconic stories. Or my personal favorite character, Superman, has stood the test of a century. How many iconic stories does he have? Not as many, although I'm throwing my hat into the ring with my Superman-inspired story, The Last Sun. But here's the irony. The comic companies realized you only get those iconic great stories from great creators. And here's the problem. If the character doesn't consistently get great stories, their value starts to wither and they begin dropping down the totem pole.
You know, it all makes sense now.
You need these great comic book writers and artists. The exception I can think of is when Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti, hi Jimmy, rebooted the Marvel Universe with Marvel Knights, and they brought in Kevin Smith to save Daredevil. I absolutely love Kevin Smith, and I mean no disrespect to him, but there was a time when Kevin Smith was bigger than Daredevil.
I'm Daredevil.
No joke, people. In my opinion, Kevin Smith probably saved Marvel Comics. All the phases, all the Avengers probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this comic. So Marvel prioritizes their characters over their creators and their actors. But then there's the second reason why Marvel won't cast movie stars. Marvel, like all corporations, turn to their core mantra. How little do I have to pay to make as much money as possible?
Because that's what heroes do.
Now remember I spoke about Angelina Jolie. They also got Salma Hayek too. How the Eternals do? Not so great. And before you boys get all excited thinking you got a W, it's not a ladies' thing. Remember the very first movie star casting Marvel did? Yeah, Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. How'd that work out?
I'm a completely different person now, literally.
Marvel realized that to prioritize the characters and the long-term storytelling that they wanted to do in a financially viable way, they needed to get
Good, solid working journeyman actors to play the main roles because they're cheaper. They're willing to sign 5 movie contracts.
While Marvel have deviated a little bit since, they accidentally discovered the successful formula with their very first movie. They started with a character that no one recognized, a little solidly D-grade character called
I am Iron Man.
Don't believe me? My first video covers that. Just watch it at 1.25 speed as it's a little bit slow. So how do you get the average person and their parents to go see your superhero movie? And this is where Scott clinched it.
I reckon they've used movie stars as villains.
My dude, you get legacy movie stars to play the villains. You thought Robert Downey Jr. was in the clink for drug addiction? Wait up. You know who Jeff Bridges is. Don't recognize anybody in that Thor movie? Let's wheel out Anthony Hopkins. Don't at me. Odin is absolutely the bad guy in that movie. Check out my Loki analysis. I've never even seen that Chris Evans guy before, but he sure is pretty. But I know Agent Smith and I know Elrond. Now, Marvel wanted the Iron Man character to take center stage, so they divided and conquered and got 2 lower list movie stars for Iron Man 2, Mickey Rourke and Sam Rockwell. Over on our Twitch chat, a core chat friend Okami has long made the key observation that unlike in the comics, movie comic book villains die all the time. A trope that the MCU has embraced to incredible pragmatic success. If your big movie star is playing the villain, they're not going to be overinvested in taking over the creative reins, a lesson they learned from Edward Norton. And chances are that because the character dies, you're going to pay those big checks once, or you just hire a double when you need them again. For example, the Red Skull. While Iron Man began this formula, it was proven an unbridled success with one movie. The Avengers. The biggest star in that movie was Robert Downey Jr. No other actor in that film had any level of box office draw. Marvel Studios is like my buddy Scott when we first had kids and I sort of paced out on our friendship. I later apologized to him and Scott goes, I don't need you, man. I can make my own people. And that's what Marvel Studios realized. They didn't need movie stars. They could make their own movie stars. All those actors are now freaking movie stars now, except Jeremy Renner, who's just Jeremy Renner.
I'm Glenn.
I don't care.
Marvel had followed their comic book priorities and found a way around the Hollywood system by prioritizing their characters over actors. But like all corporations before and after, Marvel Studios decided to see how much they could get while spending as little as possible. And they got their first slap on the wrist with Thor: The Dark World. And so they grabbed Robert Redford for Winter Soldier. And believe me, 2014 mom definitely knows who Robert Redford is. And that's why we got Corey Stoll, Walter Goggins, and Jonathan Majors in the Ant-Man films, and why the villains are the weakest parts of those movies. You can have genuine movie stars like Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer bring the Olympic gold, but the stakes were wrongly high school level high. And here's my third concern with the Thunderbolts. There are no movie stars as the villain. Having movie stars as the villain is essential to do because here's the brilliance of the superhero formula. The struggle of the superhero is to overcome the villain, right? The villain puts all their weight on one side of the scale, their plan, their design, their powers. And if you cast a genuine movie star, you place their legacy and their weight on that side of the scale. And if the hero can overcome all that in a way that the audience resonates with, then all that accomplishment is now incorporated and added into the brand of the hero. And for the premier character, Spider-Man, he has the best supporting star-studded cast. I know, because Sony and Marvel asked me to draw a bunch of them. Robert Downey Jr. and Michael Keaton in the first one, Jake Gyllenhaal and Sam Jackson in the second, and that third, I got to work on that, and man, I got to draw some movie stars. Willem Dafoe, in and out of the costume, Jamie Foxx a bunch of times, and a whole bunch of others, not to mention Marissa Tomei, and as my 8-year-old daughter calls him, the Doctor from Elf. The movie star weight of Michael Keaton, Jake Gyllenhaal, Willem Dafoe, Jamie Foxx, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Alfred Molina, those actors' credits, their careers are now all assimilated into the brand value of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Now that said, it's got to be well done because the counter argument, Your Honor, is Catwoman or Batman Forever.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Come on, DC Comics, let's do this. It's why for Captain America Brave New World, they rolled out the big guns with Harrison Ford. They wanted to add Ford's legacy to Sam Wilson's. It's a good call. It's good math. But let's backtrack a bit. What about Thanos? Marvel execs were like, my dude, we got a Thanos problem. We've set up the idea of having the supervillain big bad come back again and again. So how do we own this? How do we make the villain bigger than the actor? Well, you can make the villain from scratch. Josh Brolin wasn't a big movie star, but they'd done the groundwork, and the brilliance of the structure was that no matter how massive the accomplishments of the heroes at the end of the movie, it was all contained inside Thanos' shadow. And when it all paid off for the fans, it more than paid off for Marvel Studios, and they made more money than God.
I think I did okay.
But for corporations, the line must constantly go up, and now Marvel shareholders want another endgame, but they don't want it to take 7 years. You did it once, now do it faster. Does it scale? The second corporate mantra. So how do you take 7 years of work and cram it into a smaller period? Maybe you have a big bad that turns up more often in a smaller period. Back to corporate mantra number 1. What's the cheapest way to do this? What if we take a potential young talent, sign them up,
We're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
and make them our next big bad? And that's how we got Jonathan Majors. Suddenly you can afford to put him in a Disney Plus show. You can afford to put him everywhere. And then Major's personal life goes pear-shaped, and a multi-billion-dollar plan goes down the drain. But the shareholders still want their payout. So Marvel's left holding their proverbials in their hand with shareholders breathing down their neck. Thank God for them, a little film called Deadpool and Wolverine came out and gave them $1 billion life raft to tie them over. But having spent all this money, Marvel find themselves back near the start again, but years behind schedule now. On one hand, you have a whole bunch of brand recognition that's a little worn.
I think it's been steadily great since Endgame.
On the other hand, all you got are B and G list characters, with Wolverine and Deadpool your only A-list characters, having just been served. And now you have less time to deliver endgame levels of financial results. Marvel are in a bad situation. The only thing that can overcome time is manpower or money, like the boatload that Deadpool and Wolverine just made. So you go back to your original plan of hiring movie stars as villains. We now need one of the world's biggest movie stars as our villain. Have a look at this list of highest grossing actors. Everybody here is already in the MCU, except Tom Cruise. In years past, The Rock would have been a no-brainer, but control freaks and Edward Norton showed you what happens when movie stars want too much control. But there's a name on that list. He's played ball with Marvel before. You can rely on him. And despite multiverse fatigue,
It's just been miss after miss.
it gives you the chance to recast the biggest movie star on the planet to create Thanos levels of hype immediately. Say it with me, Robert Downey Jr. And so with their backs to the wall, Marvel drives a dump truck full of money to Robert Downey Jr.'s house, and they double down and cast him as one of Marvel's last great big bad guys, Victor Von Doom. But let's triple down and not leave our star player alone. Let's get the entire World Series team back together. You get your billion-dollar fan favorite team of the Russos direct, and you get the brilliant Marcus McFeely to write it. Two things immediately happen. Bring it all back. Doesn't matter if no one knows who any of the Thunderbolts are. The Marvel superhero formula will fold Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man legacy into all the current Marvel superheroes. The rising Robert Downey Jr.-led Endgame repeat tide is going to raise all the MCU superhero boats of their characters, or their characters in this case. And second, you get to leverage all the immediate goodwill from Endgame in a last-ditch effort. But here's the thing. Here's the most important point and why the stakes are so high. If this was a poker game, Doom War and RDJ is Marvel Studios with all their chips in the middle and standing up. Because if Marvel Studios drops this ball, if Doom War fails, this might be the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it. If you serve me mediocrity with Robert Downey Jr. after Endgame, even I might get jaded with the Marvel Universe. And you know what they'll do if that happens? Iron Man, the reboot, and it all starts again. As my favorite TV show puts it,
All of this has happened before.
and it will all happen again. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I'm aiming to make this channel the place for thoughtful and positive superhero deep dives. Something just so much more than a review of superhero movies. I want to examine how and why these superheroic characters that I love work and why they resonate with us. So please subscribe and join this journey. If you want to get your hands on the wheel, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're not sure if you want to get on yet, hitting that like button will charge my arc reactor with every single click. Seriously, those likes mean so much to me and the dreaded algorithm. I already have a ton of videos for you to enjoy. YouTube probably recommends this video here, and I also just recommend scrolling through the list and clicking on anything that catches your eye. Or just check out Scott's and my Deadpool and Wolverine playlist, which went into both of these characters in just so much detail and thought that I never thought I'd ever achieve. I really discovered some ideas about our top X characters that I'm incredibly proud of. Please consider grabbing a copy of Joker Harley Criminal Sanity on Amazon.com or preferably from your local comic book shop. Or check out jasonbadauer.com where I'm going to start and keep uploading my free comics. Hey, thank you again for watching. I'll catch you in the funny books. Stay safe, look after yourself. If you've got the bandwidth, please try and look after somebody else too.